Okay, so this video we're gonna cover retensioning the 2004 Roman blind spring mechanism. This is for the Vako 2004 cordless Roman blind system. Here on the table you can see the different parts that I have here. These are our spring motors or the spring housings. We've got a light duty and a heavy duty. I'll cover that more in just a moment. Our accelerator, which you use with the heavy duty spring, and some of our square axe or the drive rod here. You can see one of the things that we tell the workrooms is to make a small tool like an Allen key. This is a little larger than it needs to be using the square axe because it happens to be the perfect tool to retension these springs if you ever need to do that. You can use a flathead screwdriver. Just make sure you're not chewing up the fitting that's in here. You don't want to round it out, so just make sure that the screwdriver is nice and flush in there, and you could do this, although we prefer that you have an Allen key that's large enough, or just take some of our square rod and make that tool for yourself. So retensioning the spring if you lose tension. We're getting a lot of phone calls from workrooms who are doing this fabrication for the first time with our 2004 cordless Roman shade, and somewhere along the line they're pulling the pins out of our springs too early, or something's happening when they go to make the final setting, or the springs are losing tension. We're usually finding that it is a user error, but it's easily correctable here. So let me show you. This is a light duty spring. I've already pulled the pin. You should already know if you're using these springs that you pull this pin at the very final stage of the assembly. Once you put it up on your workroom valet or your hoist, we always recommend that people hold the bottom rail when they pull the pins out of their springs. So if they don't have the balance close enough or right, that it doesn't just bring the cords up very quickly and hurt or damage the spring. So this is a spring that's already had the pin pulled. All the tension of the tape spring is out of it, so we would need to retension. How do you do that? You can see on the spring housing itself, there's a small arrow on one of the sides. It's only on one side, so it's very easy to find. That is the direction that you're gonna turn the spring in to retension it, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So again, I've taken some of the square axe here to create the tool. This is going to be easier if you have a vice grip or a vise on your workbench. Holding it by hand you can do, but it's a little bit more difficult. So we say 13 turns on the light spring and 10 turns to retention on the heavy duty. So I'm just going to find a 0 spot right there, hold nice and tight to the spool, the spring housing, and you can see my arrows going in this direction. So I want to spool or retension in this counterclockwise direction, the way that the arrow is moving. There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I'm going to go a little bit further, and I feel it end basically right here. So before I over torque it and actually break the spring off, I'm going to stop. I know that I'm pretty much right at 100% there. The key thing after you find that max tension is to back it off one full turn from that max tension, and then you're going to put the pin back in the spring. Now this spring mechanism, this housing, is retensioned and ready to tie up again and try again. Again, just make sure that you look out for the arrow on the spool. Turn it in the direction of the arrow. Don't over torque it just till you lightly feel it start to stop, and then one full turn back. Hold it in that position, put the pin back in, and you'll be good to go again trying the spring. If you feel no tension on it at all, you're either moving it the wrong way, which means it's probably already broken, or the spring itself is broken while you were trying to set it. You'd need to grab a new spring. So when you turn it in the direction that the arrow is going, you will feel it start to gain tension in your hand, and you'll know that you are effectively retensioning the spring. It's the same thing for the heavy duty spring. It's got the arrow. Of course, the heavy duty spring, you're using the 1-to-4 accelerator with, so that's why you see that on the table here. But it's the same concept for both. We highly recommend making a tool for yourself that'll make life easier. And if you do have a grip or a vise or something on your workbench, that will also make life a little bit easier for you.